like, okay, these are something about good mental health. What about the poor mental health? We all go through this, and it's normal. We generally have. Number one is does not share feelings. Okay, so I have seen this. You feel like, okay, let me just be confined to my boundary. Let me not open up things. And this really helps in getting a lot of stress, and you feel very anxious, and it is very negative. Okay, so try to share. I'm not saying you can share it publicly. I mean, it's difficult to be an extrovert that way, but what I mean to say is, try to find a set of group of people to whom you can share your feelings, and try to see how they get it resolved. Okay, so try always to share your feelings. Emotions controls behavior. So I've seen people based upon emotions taking their reaction. Okay, so somebody getting angry very quickly, or shouting on people, for example, right? It generally happens in school settings, and I remember in colleges, when somebody like who's a mischief, or who does misbehavior with faculty or something, for example. So sometimes the faculty really gets too much angry. I'm not saying they shouldn't get, but sometimes it's not required, right? Okay, so this is something I feel like you should take care. Okay, so make sure you're not just getting angry so easily, right? So try to become a little bit careful in terms of displaying your emotions, right? So that is the most important thing I wanted to highlight in terms of poor mental health. And if you have any questions, please drop in in the chat box if you have any questions. Next is, as I mentioned last time, being optimistic. So here it's pessimistic. Okay, so I've seen people saying me like only successful people can do this, you can't do that. So don't try to be in such spectrum, or let's say with try to network with those kind of people who probably say that you can't achieve this, or only Elon Musk can do that, or something like that. So everything is possible. What I mean to say is, try to be positive. Don't let any negative thought impact your brain, because it's just a period of time which probably is needed. So try to be positive on that ground. Ignoring or denying problem. So this really happens. So when you're working in corporate, and there's a problem. Okay, so you know that, okay, there is a solution for that, but you're just ignoring it. It is hampering your health. It is hampering your mindset and your behavior with your family. Okay, so because of all the problems which you have in the office, you bring it to home, for example. So this is very important, that you shouldn't ignore or deny problems. Try to face it. The worst can happen is you feel a little bit bad over a little bit of time, but try to face your problems and try to conquer your fears, right? So this very important thing in terms of poor mental health. Cannot accept change. One important thing I've seen in the corporate world is somebody saying like, I have been doing this kind of activity since past 3 years. I will not like to change. Okay, so this is not the way I see, especially in the 2020 first pandemic wave. You really have to change yourself. You have to come out of your comfort zone. You can't expect the thing which used to happen pre-pandemic will also happen post-pandemic. So everything has really changed. So based upon the situation, we are adapting, right? So I have like a lot of my relatives who are teaching in corporates, who are teaching in colleges. They didn't know how to use Zoom. They didn't know how to use Google Meet. But there's no option right now, right? So they can't say that, no, I'm not going to teach, let's say, thousands of students, online. So there's no option right now. So you have to learn the software. You have to learn the technology. There's no running away, right? So try to make sure that you try to change yourself. Next is, let's stress control life. Okay, so I've seen like, if you're working in some highly paid job, or let's say you're working in the training sector specifically, I've seen that you're having a lot of stress because you have a lot of hours. So my friend works, with an academy in Byju's. They work for 50 hours a month. They have a lot of training to go through. They do a lot of sessions for UPSC and for all those exams and stuff like that. So they have a very high stress level because they have to really grind the candidates and help them out to qualify for those exams. But they don't let that stress control their life. Okay, so there's, after a session, there's also a life at your home, right? So they try to control their emotions, and they try to be less stressful. So don't let stress control your life, regardless of you working, let's say 50 hours a month, or let's say you're working, even I've seen people working 100 hours a week also, in countries like US. So it shouldn't hamper your family life. Okay, so that's something I highly recommend. Next is like, somebody saying, you did this, or playing the blame game, probably, which you find politicians doing all of a sudden, when they are caught, at something. So don't play the blame game, just take the responsibility. So if you are at fault, it should be your responsibility, rather than you telling, okay, it is one of my team members put it on. So what I feel is, when you win, try to say we won, right? But when you lose, try to take the responsibility and saying like, okay, there is a reason why we lost, and I am part of that, right? That's how I feel we should learn. So try to avoid the you messages, right? So that is highly recommended. Try not to be aggressive and passive. So this is something you already know. I've talked about anger management, and like people really get aggressive. So I've seen people working in white hat by Jews, right, who have very high targets. They're very aggressive, though sometimes it works of getting targets, but it shouldn't make the employee quit. So try not to be aggressive, and try to be active, not to be passive. So be an assertive person. Depression. Okay, so this is something you might have seen. A lot of suicides have happened in this pandemic, because people getting into depression. I mean, it's normal. You're going to get depressed when you're getting rejected by somebody, or let's say you probably wanted to achieve something, and you had a goal, you prepared it for several months, but you failed eventually. So that is pretty normal. You should come out of that depressed situation, because that is really going to damage a lot of things that way. So make sure you're not trying to get into that depression mode, right? Next is running from conflict. I've seen people really saying that, okay, I will give this work to somebody who really is a sharp person who probably knows this thing. Okay, so they say that sometimes, let them handle the situation, I cannot do this conflict resolution. Okay, so they say like, okay, let them do that work for me, right? So don't run from your conflicts. Try to face it, regardless of whatever be the situation. Try to face the situation regardless of whatever be the situation, right? So don't run from your conflicts. Try to be an open-minded person, not to be a close-minded. So I was also a close-minded person. I can highly tell. Initially when I was in the school days, I didn't wanted to talk with a lot of people. Maybe I was an introvert. That could be one reason. But I really wanted to let my thought be with me. I didn't wanted to share to others. But eventually, when I grew up, when I went into graduation and then post-graduation, I realized is I have to be open-minded. Okay, who knows, my idea really clicks, or somebody really likes, and they really can resonate with that. So I highly recommend to be a open-minded person rather than be a close-minded person, right? And the last most important is to needs to run the group. Okay, so I've seen people saying like, I have to do this, I have to take care for this. So don't use that I thing, giving as an excuse to run over some other thing. People say like, I have a lot of my job, I cannot help a kid go to the school or something like that. So take the responsibilities, regardless of you have it in your family or not. But don't run into issues saying that I have a lot of work on my file and I can't help them and stuff like that, right? So don't try to run around the bush.